Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. We're here again with our brave survivors. They were able to take down the Prelude White Line and we got some really good resources. Now, if we continue on with this great epic adventure, we're going to find out that we're going to have to build a settlement. So that is what this video is going to entail. We're going to build our first settlement and we're going to see what happens in the world of Kingdom Death to our brave survivors. We're going to go through each step one by one of building a settlement. Now in future videos, this may move a little bit faster, but for this video, I want to make sure everybody understands what is going on in the settlement phase. This is one of the main points of the game. This and the showdown phase and the hunt phase are the three different points in this game that are very important to understand what's going on. So if you're ready to see what our settlement looks like and who is in it, then I need you to meet me at the table. After they defeat the White Line, the survivors wander the darkness, drawn to a soft glow blooming on the horizon. In the first story settlement phase, players create the settlement they will return to in every subsequent settlement phase. The steps of the settlement phase are outlined in the settlement board as a useful reminder. The first one's going to be setup. So here's a zoomed out view of the settlement board. It's a pretty big board and we're going to move slowly down this and we're going to cover each one of these in detail. We have our survivor grids up here and we also have our survivor sheets down here. The first one we're going to do is we're going to start out with set up the settlement. And we've really done that because this is the first one. But in the future, we'd be putting out principles, our innovation decks, and everything else we've gathered to show what we've actually accomplished in our civilization. So the next thing we're going to do is survivors return. Now, before we move into the returning survivors, I want to show you our settlement record sheet. And this is where we're going to copy down all the information about our settlement on. It goes through all these different things. We're going to actually start by giving our settlement a name. And we're going to name our settlement Solace. And so we're going to write it right up there. And it says right underneath that it says right here, when the settlement is named for the first time, returning survivors gain +1 survival. Well, they all have their survival, so they can't actually gain any more. Just because if they would have used it during the combat, they would have been able to get it because you can only have as much survival as your settlement is able to hold. And right now, our survival limit is 1. So we're not able to actually gain any more than 1 at this point. But through different things that happen in Kingdom Death, we're going to be able to raise our survival limit, meaning that we're going to gain more survival on our characters as we play through it. Now, we don't have anything we have to do with the death count right now, and we're going to get to that as we go through this. Also, each returning hero is going to, or survivor, I should say, hero, survivor, they're both about the same thing. They're going to be able to heal any damage they have. So for example, we're going to go ahead and erase our brain injury there. We're going to erase our heavy wound against the head. You're able to fully heal all your characters when you return back home. Now, if you have any permanent injuries, like say you lost an arm or something, you're not going to be able to heal that because it's obviously permanent. But all the little checkmark boxes, we're able to heal all of those type of injuries. So we're going to finish off by healing Hercules of his light body and his head, and we're going to continue on with the rest of our settlement development. Now, continuing on, we're going to go to gain endeavors. The other thing I want to show you is this cool little thing. This is what we're going to use to kind of show you what part we're on instead of continuing down this big track because it's hard to read some of those writing. So we're going to gain endeavors. Endeavors, you're going to gain 1 for each returning survivor from our showdown. We have 4. All 4 of our guys survive. So we get 4 endeavors. We're going to place them right here on our settlement track here. And these are going to represent our creative energy accumulated from any experiences we may have had. And after we're done with our settlement phase, we're going to lose any endeavors that we don't actually use. So it's really good to just kind of use all of them any way you possibly can. So our next thing is updating the timeline. If we look at our little thing here, it says update timeline, draw a settlement event card and resolve it. Trigger story and settlement events on the timeline this year. So again, we're going to take our settlement record sheet and right up here, we're going to check the first day. And we're going to take the first day and we're going to deal with the story event returning survivors. So we're going to go ahead and check this one right here. We've lasted 1 year in Kingdom Death. So far we're doing pretty good. There seems to be a lot more that we got to survive. We got one, that's half the battle. Now, normally when you return from a showdown and you get to the update timeline phase, you're going to draw a settlement event, and here's a whole big stack of settlement events. But for the very first one, you automatically have to do the first day. So let's take a look at this card. So it says first day settlement event, and let's go ahead and read it. It says first day settlement event will help set up your settlement. It is the first event of any new campaign. So we're going to go ahead and start at the very top here. It says the survivors wander drawn to a blooming light in the distance. They find the serene comfort of a towering pile of lanterns and a small collection of scared people. On a deep instinctual level, they know this area is safe, and they make it their home. I must now roll a d10 to determine your starting population and record the result on the back of the settlement record sheet. Choose and record genders for unnamed survivors. You may name an unnamed survivor and create their survivor record sheet at any time during the settlement phase. So we're going to go ahead and roll a d10. And I've got one right here. So we're going to see what happens and see how many survivors we have here. Oh, we got an 8. That's absolutely awesome. So if we look down here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It says 7 plus 10 unnamed survivors plus the returning survivors. That's absolutely fantastic. Oh, this is going to be great. So it says return to the settlement section of the first day story and proceed to returning survivors. The first day settlement card event card will not be used again during this campaign. Do not include it in your settlement event deck. So on the back of the settlement record sheet, it has a huge place for the population. And of course, we get to start with 10 population plus the 4 returning survivors. So we're at 14. That's absolutely a monstrous number to start with. And we have to choose our genders, and we can also name them. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that off screen, and we're going to come back to this later. And now that we've drawn our first day, we're going to go ahead and look at our survival record sheet here, and we have to do the story event returning survivors. So let's look in the book and see what that is. So we're going to flip to the returning survivors. I just want to show you how cool this book is. So in this book, on the sides here, you're going to see that each story event has a little tab. So you just go until you find the tab for returning survivors. Now I've actually bookmarked it, so we don't have to worry too much. I'm going to go ahead and flip to it, and it's got some really cool art of the actual lantern here. And then we have our story event returning survivors. So let's take a closer look at this. So the first thing we have to do for our returning survivors is nominate a survivor to utter the first words. So we have to nominate a survivor. Here's our list of survivors. I've gone ahead and named them all. We've got our original 4. If you've noticed, I've actually spelled Hercules' name right, thank goodness. We also decided to have Goldmoon and Riverwind, Tika, Tanis, Kitiara, Caramon, Raceland, Lorana, Christiana, and Sturm. Those are our survivors. There should be 14. Now we get to nominate one of these, and I believe, if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I believe I can nominate any one of these. I don't think it has to be the first 4 we used. If it is, please let me know, and I'll make sure to change this. But right now, I think we're going to nominate Goldmoon as our survivor that we have to nominate. And that means she's going to be nominated to utter our first words. The nominated survivor steps forward and gains +1 courage. They lead the other survivors in learning to speak to one another. They discuss their situation, realizing they must hunt to live. Add the white lion to the quarry list on the settlement record sheet. Your settlement gains the language innovation. Search the innovation cards for language and place it face up in your play area and record it on your settlement sheet. Language is your first innovation, and it will spark the creation of the innovation deck. Now, let's go ahead and take care of this. So as it says, we're going to mark White Lion as a monster for our quarry. Now, actually, your settlement record sheet should already have that darkened in. It takes care of a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing in this first round, but I just wanted you to make sure that you knew that it was there. So the next thing we need to do is put down our language innovation, and it is our starting innovation. And right now it says survival limit +1. So we've gained an extra survival limit for our settlement. So now it's up to 2. It says all survivors gain encourage survival action. And what does encourage do? It says right here, once per round, if standing, spend 1 survival to call out to a non-deaf survivor. They stand if knocked down. See detailed rules in the rulebook. So I'll be able to explain this as we play through the game. Now we get to add language consequences to the innovation deck. Now we're going to take our language innovation and put it right up here where it says innovations. Next it says we have to build the innovation deck. It says right here, the innovation deck represents the potential cultural and technological growth of your settlement. It will grow throughout the campaign as you gain new innovation cards. Find 6 innovation cards with the language consequences like we saw in that language card listed under the title. So we're going to go find these. Omnio, drums, hovel, inner lantern, paint, and symposium. Ammonia, sorry, I said that wrong. We're going to go ahead and find these cards and add them to our language innovation deck. And it says shuffle the 6 cards together to form your settlement's innovation deck. Place it face down in the designated space on the settlement board. The innovation deck is persistent. Make sure to preserve the unique combination of cards in your deck between play sessions. Once we're finished with the work, the settlement gathers around the glowing center. So I've gone ahead and grabbed all 6 of those cards. Now we're going to turn these over and we're going to mix these up so we don't know exactly what they are, because when we go to innovate, we'll not know what we innovate. And this deck will grow. So as we choose cards, for example, if we look at this, it was able to add the language consequences. If we get another innovation, it may add more cards to this deck, and that's really exciting. So each civilization could be off on a totally different path when you play this game. So we're moving on to the glowing center. Armed with language, the nominated survivor aptly names the glowing center of their home, the Lantern Horde. The settlement gains the Lantern Horde settlement location. Search the large settlement location cards for the Lantern Horde and place it face up in your play area. The Lantern Horde is the source of all innovations, and further location and settlement will develop. The nominated survivor sits in front of the Lantern Horde in awe and gains +1 understanding. They must skip the next hunt phase as they ponder the meaning of existence. Check off the skip next hunt box on the survivor's record sheet. They cannot be selected as departing survivors for this phase. Now I have to return to the first story to complete the settlement phase. So a lot is going on. We were able to create Gold Moon. Here is our Gold Moon character. She gains 1 courage, so we're going to check that box, and 1 understanding. Now she's able to gain a couple more courage points. We're going to be doing a new story event called Bold, or also an understanding, we're going to be doing Insight. So those are some things that we're going to be keeping track of as we continue on with Gold Moon. But for right now, she has to skip the next hunt, which is located down here. So we're going to fill in that box, but we're going to erase it when our characters come back from the next hunt. We also have to take our Lantern Horde location. And here it is. Look at this Lantern Horde. It looks absolutely awesome. I love the art in this game. It's really good. It says we can also innovate. It also has some things we can build. And there's also an ability to have some shared experience. We're going to place this right down here. And we're going to come back to this as we continue on building our settlement. Now we were able to complete number 4, update the timeline. So we're going to move into update the death count. Well, we don't have any death count to worry about. Nobody died. So we're also going to go into the check milestones. Now that's when you're going to look for things like on your character sheets or possibly on your settlement record sheet that is going to show little book symbols. And those are going to be when you are going to be updating your milestones. Those are different things that could happen, and you're going to check out different story events and that happen when these certain points in your character or civilization happen. Now there is one thing I forgot to do. I apologize. Gabrielle, for example, I'm just going to show you on her sheet and then we'll do it on the other sheets. Up here is Hunt XP. After we beat the White Lion, we should have gone ahead and checked our Hunt XP box before we even came back to our settlement. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this on Gabrielle's sheet, and I will go ahead and mark it on all the rest of our sheets as well. So they all have at least 1 hunt experience so far. And as you can see from our character record sheet, as we progress, we're going to be able to unlock new story events, starting with age. So we're going to put that back here and we're going to move on. The next step is our develop step. So we're going to move into the develop step, which is where we're going to be spending a lot of our endeavors. So I'm going to move them down. And it's also where we're going to craft items or maybe even learn some new innovations or take advantage of anything that is on any of our settlement locations or even on our innovations itself. Now, if we look at our lantern hoard, there's many different things we can use our endeavors for here. One, we can innovate. If we give up an endeavor, a bone, an organ, and a hide from our resources, once per settlement phase, you may spend the listed resources to draw 2 innovation cards, keep one, and return the other to the deck. That's going to be pretty awesome. I bet we're going to do that. Also, we can spend 1 endeavor for each one of these, a bonesmith, a skinnery, and an organ grinder. So we get 3 new locations and we can innovate with our 4 endeavors. I think that's going to be the way to go. So if we want to innovate, we have to give up 1 endeavor, which is right there. Then we also have to find an organ, which is right here, organ. So we found an organ. Now we have to find a hide. Well, these are a little bit better than normal hides and bones, so we're going to keep those. There must be something down here. Oh, here we go, a hide and a bone. Now these are just generic random resources, so we're going to use those to innovate with. Discarding all 3 of these resources in this endeavor allows us to draw the top 2 cards off our innovation deck, and let's see what we get. Our first one is Symposium. This one is going to allow us to, again, our survival limit is going to go up by 1. And when a survivor innovates, draw an additional 2 innovation cards to choose from. Oh, that's going to be really good. And then I'm going to add Symposium consequences to the innovation deck. That's one choice. The second choice is Drums. Music and language consequence. I can spend an endeavor to bone beats. Select one. You may drum along and gain 2 insanity, 2 survival, or gain rhythm chaser fighting art, or synchronized strike secret fighting art. And I'm going to add the drum consequences. Now I can only choose one of these 2, and then we're going to have to put the other one back in the deck. And we're going to choose Symposium. I really think Symposium is really good. It's a long-term one, because now for the rest of the game, we're going to be able to draw 4 innovations when we go to innovate, and we can choose one that way. Also, we're going to give our survival limit, or our civilization +1 survival limit. So we're going to put it right up there with our language resource, and we're going to discard these 3 resources and this endeavor. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to spend the last 3 endeavor we have, and we're going to build all 3 of these. So we're going to go ahead and look at each one of these individually, the organ grinder, the bonesmith, and the skinnery. So if we look at the bonesmith, he's going to be able to build us some of our weapons. So we could get a bone dagger, bone blade, a bone axe, bone darts, bone club, everything's bone, a skull helm, 2 bone. Oh, we have a skull. We could build a skull helm. That'd be really good. Now we can't build a pickaxe or a bone sickle because it needs ammonia, and we don't have that, so it's a locked item. Now if you'll notice, there are going to be some colors along the side. If you're able to connect these certain colors together, you're going to be able to add extra bonuses. I'll show you that when we actually start buying our equipment. So let's go through our resources and figure out how much bone we have. Now we have a skull, we've got a great cat bone, we've got a claw, and that's it. The rest of these are hides or organs. Now we have 3 bones total. Let's see what we can make. Now, if we go through this, we could give ourselves 1 here. We got bone darts. We can make bone darts. We couldn't make a bone. We could do a bone axe. We do have an organ. We can do a dagger or a blade. 3 of them give us a bone club. Wow, that's a lot of bones to do that with. I really think getting the skull helm would be really good. So I think we're going to pick up a skull helm with our skull, because we do have a skull resource. So we're going to grab a skull helm. Now we have to decide what 2 weapons we want to build. I think we're going to build some bone darts. I always like to have a ranged weapon when I play any type of game that involves dungeon crawlers or characters or anything like that. I like to have 1 range guy. So we're going to go ahead and grab some bone darts. And I've got 1 more bone here. What are we going to make? We could either make a bone blade, a bone dagger, or we could even make this bone axe, because I do have the sinew, which is considered an organ. So let's take a look at those items. So the first thing we have is our skull helm. We're going to go ahead and build this. It's armor for our head, and it's 3 armor. It's absolutely amazing. Now, when you suffer a severe head injury, the skull helm is destroyed. We're going to archive this card. But with 3 armor on the head, I think that's going to be pretty good. So we've bought our skull helm. So here are the 3 we could choose from. We could grab a bone dagger, a bone blade, or a bone axe. Now, if we look here, this one has speed 3, so it's going to roll 3 dice. The other 2 only have 2. These hit on a 6+, this is only a 7+, and this only adds +1 to try to damage it. This is +2, and this is +3. The bone axe, I think, is way better. Now, these 2 weapons, I believe, are frail. So it says when you attempt to wound a super dense hit location, this weapon breaks. Archive the card. Now, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that when fighting a white lion. A bone dagger on a perfect hit, you gain 1 survival. Perfect hits when you roll a natural lantern 10. We've been rolling a lot of those, but I think we're going to go ahead and get this bone axe. So we're going to buy a skull helm, a bone axe, and bone darts. Those are going to be the 3 things. So we're going to go ahead and decide who those are going to go to when we decide to travel out. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at our skinnery. If we go ahead and look at our skinnery, we can build some armor for our characters. We can spend basically 1 hide to build any one of these we want. Now let's see what's down here. We could also build some bandages, but we can't build these without either the drums, which we could have chose, but we decided not to, or ammonia we can't nor need to have it in order to do the rawhide whip. Now if we ever want to build a leather worker, we're going to need to spend 3 hide and organ and one of our endeavors, but we're not at that point yet. So we're going to go ahead and figure out what armor we should buy in order to keep our guys alive. Now, if we look at the amount of hide we have 1, 2, 3, and this one says archive this to gain 2 basic hide resources. So technically we have 4 hide to work with. So we can decide to build, we can build almost an entire set for 1 person if we really want to. So I think what we're going to make is 2 rawhide vests. We're going to use 2 rawhide vests, and we're also going to make a rawhide headband. And the reason we're going to do that is if we actually look at this, we can create, if you match these symbols up, the blue on the blue and the red with the red, like say we go with our bone axe here, we can make a survivor gain this ability right down here. Because with these 2 locked together, since they are a puzzle piece, that means it has to be these 2 that are locked together. I'm going to gain +1 evasion for the survivor that is wearing this gear set right there. Now our headband has a special power that says, as an action, I can reveal the top 2 AI cards, place them back in the top of the deck in any order. Now that only has to link together like that. We don't need the red one to do it because it only has 1 blue one up here to link. So we're going to buy these 3 or 4, these 3 things. We already have the bone axe. And I think that's going to be our best bet. We're going to give this to somebody, and we're going to keep those 2 for somebody else. And I think just to top it off, we're also going to buy these rawhide gloves. And that way we can also connect it here. So we can choose if we want this guy to be the guy with the axe, or maybe just a founding stone and have some really good defense and kind of stand in front. So we're going to buy these 4 leather items using our 4 hide resources. I should say hide stuff. I apologize. It's not leather, it's hide. And after buying all those, we are going to be using all of our resources. So there's no resources for us to archive this turn. I hope that made sense, and I hope you like the purchases I did. Leave it in the comments below if you think this was good, or do you think I should have saved some of the resources? Because some of the resources are pretty good that we might be able to use later on in the game. Now, the last location we built was the organ grinder. We're not going to be doing anything with the organ grinder since we don't have any other organs. But if we do get some, we can get things like fecal salve, monster grease, Lucky Charms. We could even build a monster tooth necklace. We need to get some heat. We need to learn heat. Also, we can augury. This is something you can only do at the organ grinder. It says the survivor endeavors to glean the meaning of existence. Roll on the table. Add +1 for your roll result if your understanding is 3 or higher. Either we can lose a resource from the settlement. If you do, gain +1 understanding, or we can gain a survival, or we can do this intimacy story event. So that's something you can only do at the organ grinder. Of course, we can upgrade our organ grinder down here to a stone circle by using 3 organ and a hide, and we're going to be able to buy or create, different things on that card as opposed to the organ grinder. So those were our locations. We have our equipment. We also were able to get a new innovation. So let's quickly look at that and put some more cards into the innovation deck. So our symposium innovation tells us to put in the symposium consequences. And I've got them right here. So we're going to take our 2 symposium consequences and place them into our innovation deck. And then we're going to shuffle this up so it's all ready for the next time we come back to our civilization. So we're going to put that back right here, and we're going to move on. We've done our 7th thing. We don't have any principles yet because we haven't found any story moments that have to do with principles. So we're going to carry on to number 8, which is going to be prepare departing survivors. Remove gear from returning survivors, and we're going to go ahead and put it on, decide who we want to take out, and we're going to decide how to equip them. Also at this time, we're going to go ahead and take care of all the things that are supposed to be written on here. For example, I'm going to make our survival limit 3 because we get 2 from these and 1 for naming our settlement. So we're going to have 3 survival limit. Also down here, we're going to put our innovation language and also symposium. And I believe that's all the things we're going to be putting on here for now. We would be able to put our archived resources or gear storage back here, but we don't have any. We actually used everything we've got. So we have nothing else we're actually going to be putting down here for now. I just wanted to make sure you knew that those are what we're going to have to write on there. Now, the cool thing about this game is this deck persists. So we're going to make sure we keep this deck just like this. And every time we come back to the civilization and we decide to innovate, we're going to be creating our own civilization based on that deck. I think that's a really cool system. Our first survivor we're going to look at is Gabrielle. And I'm going to give Gabrielle our bone darts. This is a throw-in ranged weapon. And it's a range of 6. So this thing's going to be able to be thrown up to 6 squares. And it's frail, so of course if we hit a super dense location, we're going to have to archive it. Now this isn't connecting anything, so I'm not getting any bonuses from anything, but that's all she has. So we're going to go ahead, she has her 1 waste, she has her 1 survival, and that's it. She's got her bone darts, she's good to go. I think we're good with Gabrielle. Next we have Xena. Xena has 1 survival, she actually has an insanity, so she's doing okay, at least has a little bit of resistance against things. Now we're going to give her the rawhide headband, the rawhide vest, and the rawhide gloves. The reason I'm going to do that is I know she still has a founding stone. I'm hoping she can kind of take the white lion on at least a little bit, hopefully, and she can maybe survive a little bit of its attacks with some of this armor. She's only missing foot armor. So other than that, I think she has armor in every spot. So we're going to go ahead and mark an armor in the head, arms, and body, and she also gains back her waist armor from last mission or last fight. Now she's ready to go. Next we have our Paliolus. He managed to gain +1 strength, so he has a better chance of wounding the monster in the next encounter. We're going to give him back a founding stone. I'm actually going to take Hercules' founding stone. I've got a plan. He's not taking anything else. This is what he has. So he's going to remain the way he is, just like this. And last we have Hercules, and if you haven't figured out what we're going to give him the skull helm, a bone axe, and this rawhide vest. Now sadly the rawhide vest is not going to activate because the skull helm is not the same affinity as the rawhide vest, but that's okay. That's 3 armor in the head. He's also probably going to take over for Xena if Xena falls to the white lion, and some of you kind of stands up to him and takes him head on. So there we go. We have Hercules all set. He does have 1 insanity, and he has 1 survival. Now there is one more thing for Xena I forgot about, and that's her gloves. If we read them, it says, when you depart, gain 1 survival. Now since our survival limit of our civilization is 3, we are able to gain an extra survival. So we're up to 2 survivals. Also, the other thing I forgot to do is all of our characters gained the encourage action from our language consequence. So I'm going to go ahead and mark encourage on all of our characters as well. And that's it. We're ready to go hunt the white lion. The quarry we have to choose is the white lion because that's the only one we have access to. So we have our 4 characters ready to set out again to take on a white lion, a level 1 white lion. So we're going to build that deck a little bit different, but first we have to go hunt it. I know this video was a little bit long, and it's normally not going to take this long to get to the settlement phase because we'll be able to start moving faster down this track now that we have an idea of how the game actually plays. And that's going to be it from our Settlement Solace. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. This is going to be fantastic. We're going to be moving into our first hunt, and we're going to fight that level 1 white lion. We have to hunt him and then take him down in a showdown. I'm excited to show you that. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the hunt comes and you can see me take on that white lion. Please leave anything in the comments below. I'd love to hear from everyone. Did you agree with what we crafted? Or should I save some things for later? It's up to you to tell me because everybody plays this game a little bit differently. Though I am not a master of this game, I've made it through a little bit of this game, but not very far. So I'm excited to hopefully get a lot farther this time with each and every one of you. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you're excited to see if our survivors can take down a white lion, then I need you to meet me at the table.